Convoy, welcome to this new webinar of the School of Alchemy of Damanhur. This webinar is a webinar at the beginning of the pathway. Why is that so? Because we introduce to the new course of alchemy, which starts with this name and which is opening the academic year 2026 for the Alchemy School of Damanhur. Said that, my name is Ranula Tugasesim. I'm He's a coordinator of the Alchemy School in Damanhur, and tonight I'm here to put you some questions. You thought that you would just listen and hear my words. No, no, I'm here to ask you certain things. Why today, really thinking of tonight, what would be like the topic of tonight, I ask myself certain questions. And if it's useful in this moment to start a new pathway of alchemy. And if, for you who are listening to us, are people, you are made for an alchemy pathway. Maybe some know already have knowledge about traditional alchemy. Some have a base knowledge on what it could be or what it is, what the Damanhuran alchemy is. All these aspects are part and open certain questions. My life in this very moment, am I satisfied with it? Is it perfect? Is it fulfilled? Or is there something else where I would like to know more about? Well, for myself, or maybe from the world around me. I feel I hear about a lot that you speak about Maya, illusion, matrix, this world. Many say is a projection, a hologram. Some once you said it could be a dream of the divinity, and we are like the dreams out of control living this experience. So, where is the truth in all that? Where is this original point of all of that? These are questions which, in the moment they are born inside of us, and I think when you're here, in every single one of you, questions came up, maybe some like this, or similar to those we just put here, or maybe also others. So this is the little bell which is telling us, yeah, we are people who search. We are people trying to find something which is hidden behind this veil of Maya. So for people that can, yes, alchemy is the key. And not only, it's also a door. Why? Alchemy is this ancient science, this ancient knowledge, which brings us to find again or refine the value of the humans, its intrinsic capacity, and after all, to find again that this human being with whom we see in this world around was not always like it is now. It has its peak and low parts. regarding to its knowledge, to its evolution, spiritual and on the material level. So therefore, today we are in a point in which we are now in the low point of our knowledge. But the important point is the historic moment in this very moment is the more for foreseeing or and I'm sure you have heard that from many people because we find ourselves now in this moment where we go from these old patterns, from this old era to the new one. So from the era of the pieces, we go in the era of Aquarius. It's like, what does it mean when it changes from one to another planet? The energy changed, the situation changed, everything changes. Today, in a lot of these ancient calendars, it's the beginning of a new golden era, the era of the real spiritual awakening of humankind. It's a time in which we find ourselves to make big leaps, spiritually ones. But like if we look around what's happening in the world around us, we could tell us, well, that's this brilliant, marvelous world where our soul can flourish. Yeah, because this chaos in the world is born from the fact that we found ourselves in the transformation of this old paradigm with a new one. And therefore, when we have this uh, lo locomotive is going in one direction, even if you turn off the motor before it stops, it takes some time because this momentum is giving it its still the go, huh? This power which is in the movement itself, huh? So the world is the same. It had a direction which was very clear, and they were all going into a certain frequency, which didn't bring us to its best for our evolution, for our race. And at a certain point in the moment when this change happened, actually, there certain frequencies were nourished, but they still have this force, but it will encounter, like it will meet this old energy and the new one. So there is the moment where this chaos starts, but there is the moment when the transformation happens, the choice, the consciousness. Because if there's not this moment of break with the old, how can ever there is something new happen? And we are in this moment of break where a lot of them find themselves all over. And unfortunately, there is a race of uh, violent forcing this for the moments I said. In this climate, in this historical moment, is it a smart thing to start with an alchemic pathway? Yes, my answer would be yes, because alchemy gives us these instruments to learn how to choose what, how we want to live, who we want to be, to understand what we want to manifest, and also to respond to these questions: why we are here, what am I doing here, what's the meaning of all that, the goal of it. These are questions opening to research. Often, a lot of people look for their answers on the right places, in books, maybe in other people, maybe in religions, philosophies, forgetting that the answer, the unique and right one which we can find to these questions, only is can come outside of ourselves. The ancestors, our ancestors in the ancient times, they knew this truth. So, in fact, on the portals of the temples, there was always written, "Know yourself, and you will know the universe." So, if already our ancestors knew that, why do we did we forget about it? Because in the time of the pieces, we went towards a direction which was in the outside, an experience of going to find answers in the science, in something which our rational mind can comprehend. And from what part it's also right. From the other parts, there are not instruments today to go to explore what we call the spiritual worlds, which are worlds are combining with our material world, which have always higher elevated frequencies and vibrations which go faster and faster to come to the speed of light. So there are a lot of levels which you can explore, but we have to start and to use the right instrument, which are not the ones science gave us today, like the microscope, the meter, the telescope, huh? Things like that. No, we have to activate. It's like the focus of the alchemist is the self-observation, the knowledge about yourself, not to only look at the outside, but to bring back the attention on ourselves, on the inside, on the fact who we are. Who are we? So, in the majority, people, who are you? They respond with, when you ask somebody, who are you? Then people respond with their professions or with the relations they have. I'm an engineer, I'm a teacher, I am a doctor, I'm a worker. Oh, a lot of people identify with the activities they do. but then they identify with structures they created. For example, a couple or a family. I'm a father, I'm this or that, I'm the husband of, the wife of, So things like that, or son or daughter from. And it's things with which we identify on the base of a external world which is predetermined. But all that is not speaking about ourselves. It's not speaking about what our desires are, what our fears are, or our aspirations. And especially, no one is telling where these desires come from, where our fears come from, all these pushes we have, where do they come from? These are questions we have to ask ourselves intimately, of course, to observe ourselves and to give ourselves answers to that. That's what we in alchemy is the first phase in alchemy, which uh, is the nigredo phase, when you light the fire and when the wood transforms itself, giving light and warmth um into ashes. And as this matter is transforming, it's refining, expressing energy with experience, our matter, so our lack to say so, which is the consciousness, and it's transforming into a more refined matter in the white one, in the white of the ashes. And therefore, we start this process because when we start to bring attention ourselves, all these mechanisms start, which we have inside. So we start to open a new dialogue with our soul, and our soul, we have to find out what it is made of, because it's our soul, this togetherness of aspect which make us desire certain things, which makes us creates fear of others or wanna be better in certain aspects and less uh good in other aspects. Is these famous talents. Every one of us is born with talents. So these talents are our personalities, which have developed knowledge and experiences, and they bring it step by step out of ourselves and giving life over life, from life to life. So when we start to know, to map all that, the structure of our soul, well, then we will find and we will find out who we are and how we're made. That's a basis. It's an important base. To do so, we have to start to create a dialogue with ourselves. And this dialogue, where does it come from? It comes from nothing less than from intuitions and emotions. Emotions are this instrument, this language which unifies us as humans with us being divine beings. In the tradition, uh, you say God is immanent and transcendent at the same time. It's inside of us and outside of us. But this God inside of us, to contact it, to go to understand. to ask for inspiration, tips, help, energy, or consolidation, all what we want, this God has to understand which language it has to use with us. And this language which it's using, which the divine part is using to communicate with our human part, what is it? Right, it's our emotions. Why them? Emotions are a language, it's the soul language, which allow us to transmit beyond the knowledge, also the energy, but also to feel alive. Emotions transmit life itself. If we can think of our experiences, if we think of our experiences a week ago, a month ago, 5 years ago, you will see that it will be much easier to remember moments where you had strong emotions, like important ones, right? Instead of days where we lived quite normally, to say so, yeah? Where the emotions were like, okay, they passed, but it's not nothing particular. Okay. So we have to remember that emotions connect perfectly to our memory. And the more it's connected to a strong emotional memory, the more this memory we have like easier to grab, which we can recall more easily. So we started from far away, from the chaos of the moment. We came back to ourselves, being humans, and saying, okay, to find the balance, we have to come back to look at ourselves. But then we're also arrived to this point. Well, if we look ourselves, we don't have to look only at our human part when we define ourselves in the world, but also in the more profound part of ourselves, this immortal part, this divine part of ourselves. And there we spoke about the language of which is communicating between the human part and the divine part, which are the emotions, the state of consciousness. And this is what in alchemy is one of the fundamental points. In Damanhur, we call it the alchemy of the living forces. Why we do call it like that? Because when we learn to guide the vital energy of the humans, and then we can transform it, because having an alchemical body with a lot of possibilities, we have the need of being able to know how to guide the energy to activate the different functionalities. It's a bit like having a super sports car, but if we don't have any gasoline for it, we could have like the most beautiful car in the world. It will not work. It will not start because it's missing the fuel. So it cannot start. Yeah. And the same thing is valid for us humans and for our alchemical body. In fact, one of the principal aspects which we see for those who will have likes to join us in the course, which is in 2 weeks, like what we call the starting of the pathway. Emotions are one of the fundamental points. We will learn to understand whether we are people who live their emotions consciously or live for the reactivity of emotions. It's us that we are living the emotions, or it's the emotions guiding us. For the majority, it's more the emotionality which we're guided off. Or the majority of people are reacting to life. They're living the emotiveness. They reacting to what's happening. They are not choosing. But one of the fundamental aspects of the alchemic pathway is to I can choose the emotions which I want to live. I choose emotions, positive ones. I choose emotions which give to me this will of living, this creativity, which is stimulating me, which are opening me. Because if we base only on what we said before, what is outside of us, then it's not easy there to be like on the surface, like on surface swim, huh? to to be this pleasureful life. Because the stimulus in this moment are not that positive, right? So it's us who have to learn to be antennas who transmit and receive positive stimuli. To do so, we have to learn to activate our potential and especially the attention, as we said before. And this is this power of choice. Coming back to the example of the Nigredo and the Albedo, so this opera from the black burning the coal, then to the refinement of the white, uh, thanks to the presence of our mind, our energy is refined, comes, it's not, it's like ashes, almost not touchable. And then thanks to our new consciousness, our new choice, to our new will, which is directed towards something, then it's transformed into a substance which is a superior level. So, which is the red. It's not the uh, coal anymore. It's the braces of a new level. So it's giving a direction to our life of the knowledge and the embers, huh, of who we are because we choose it. That's important. It's not that somebody else will tell you who you are, who we are, or what we should be or become. No, it's us who will and have to identify and choose what is our existence. And to do so, as I said before, there is the need of an inspiration. It's not, the human part is not sufficiently. The human part knows very, very little. It's a bit like the tip of the iceberg. It's like the tip of the pen writing in this reality, but all the rest, which is there beside the tip, the pen, is the fundamental part of what we are. And therefore, this tip, ourselves, this human part, has to come back to be in harmony, in conscious, in awareness, in union with all the other parts of ourselves. And this dialogue happens when we create a new spiritual direction. And in the pathway we are opening, we are developing in the introductory weekend, we learn to create new spiritual ways for every single one of you. And it's not only us for our human part who chooses and which understands, but we will learn to address our divine part, and thanks to this language of emotions, to receive this right inspiration, we then have to translate it into matter. We have to incarnate it because we live here and now. It's fine to be spiritual, but being spiritual has to, this essence, we have to learn to distill it in matter. It's a concept which is called the divinization of matter, bringing the divine inside of matter and to elevate the frequency of matter, living the divine, not self-destructive entropic, but self-generating, which is transforming, which is renewing. Nothing is created, nothing is destroyed. Everything is transformed in the universe. So these concepts, which are referring to the basic universal laws, to the hermetic laws, the thought creates this, the likewise recalls the likewise as above, so below, are aspects which don't have to remain only uh, being promoted in good books. No, we have to understand the power of it and use them and use its power in it. How you create this thought, that's what we learn. How you do to, in a way that as above, so below happens. So the human part is connecting to the divine part. And it also reflects in the other part always. And we are touching these kinds of points that the similar is responding to the similar, and also there we create subs chemical substances which respond to us. The similar is the likewise is responding to the likewise. And when we use these famous alchemical potions, they will recall what we have chosen. Can you see that it's all processes, which step by step, from a simple theory, becomes something very concrete? Because alchemy, especially the Damanhurian alchemy, is very practical, very practical. It has to be lived from every one of you. Otherwise, it it doesn't bring you anywhere, so it doesn't serve for anything. But if every one of us is living it, experimenting it, then the knowledge, step by step, as it is expressed, becomes consciousness. So turns into this added value, which starts to vibrate in us and is giving value to our soul. And it's something where we can say, I feel that my life was lived fully with value and it had the right weight. We all have to learn that because when we come to the end of the day, as and the same when we come to end of our life, we have to ask ourselves, what did I learn today? What did I learn in this life? And we have to give us answers because a life which is lived where we haven't learned anything particular, where we didn't do any marvelous experiences, a day where I haven't learned anything is a wasted day. We gave away our life. So it's all concepts which are very important and which open to what is the alchemical practices tonight, as every time. Alchemy is practical. It's not just chit chat. And that's why in a while we will do together a little meditation, a moment of contact with our profound parts. Let's call them our higher selves or our divine spark. Everyone calls it as you like, but it's this center which everyone has and which gives us life. It's the source of everything. And it's always there ready to be of inspiration, but it's waiting that we turn to it, towards it, and we look at it so that we are ready to communicate, but also to listen to it. And we have to create a dialogue which is conscious. And tonight, as many times it will happen in the alchemy pathway, we will learn, we experiment this inner dialogue. I will guide you, but naturally, you can and everyone can do that naturally on its own. There are a lot of different techniques, rituals, and so on. But the starting point is always the will directed of doing in it to activate this inner dialogue. Because all the techniques in the world, whatever we want, we will not substitute our will, never ever, our choice to come to our free will. Nothing, no one can obligate a person to do a spiritual pathway if the person doesn't want to. But everyone has the possibility in life, in whatever part of the world, at least once or even more times in life. It's written in our spiritual DNA. It's there. You will have the choice for everyone, and you will meet that. And as we said before, we give the biggest power which exists in the world, which not even the gods can do anything against it. And it's the power of our free will, of our choice. If you heard this spiritual call, if I wouldn't have heard this spiritual call, I would be somewhere else today, right? So this call, this feeling, this moment can happen once, twice, maybe five, 10 times, who knows? But it's up to us to respond. That's a responsibility, the capacity of being able to respond. That's responsibility. To know how to respond, good or bad, doesn't matter, but to respond to what's happening, not to let go, huh? Like of or leaves in the wind. No, being there present. I'm here. I am. This is, it's a fundamental point. And today we have a little chat with ourselves, as we define it. So for those who like, besides my chatting here, for those who would like to start this little dialogue with yourself, we have to prepare, therefore. So meditation is an act which helps in that direction. In which way? Very simple. So We need some base aspects of it. First of all, a slowly and controlled breathing. Why is that so? Because as we will find out in among the elements, air, the breathing, is this element which brings inside of us the vital energy, besides oxygen, obviously. Also, what we call the prana, the vital energy, the universal energy. So, in the spiritual part of the air, we nourish ourselves by that. Life passes through oxygen, air, through vital prana. In fact, something I every time when I says I think of it when it was told to me for the first time. You can be weeks without eating. You can be days without drinking, but you cannot stay longer 2 or 3 minutes without breathing. So you understand how fundamental breathing is and how much nourishment comes from the breathing, from air, from this alchemical element. In fact, in all spiritual pathways, in all esoteric, magical schools, whatever, one of the bases is always to learn how to breathe. And today I will propose to you a simple basic technique which helps us to do a conscious breathing. So we will inhale through our nose, we will hold the moment the breath, and then we will exhale from a good open mouth. Really let out the air, like opening up your mouth and let it out. And this breathing, which has a explicit technique, and we will learn the meanings of it, we'll need to learn that to recall this energy inside of us, which we need to activate our chakras or Adonai Ba, which how we call it, the energetic centers in the sacred language of Damanhur, which are in our subtle structure. And bringing this energy, we're activating these motors, and activating these motors, we can move not only on a material level, but also on a soul level, on a spiritual level. But we need to have this energy, otherwise you don't go to any part. You know, it's like the car I said before, without fuel, doesn't move not a single centimeter. So we have the need to put fuel inside of us to make these spiritual organs work, not only our physical organs. Said all that, let's start. So please find a comfortable position where you can be seated. Please don't cross over your arms nor legs. Especially for men, if you have belts, open them up. You have to be feel comfortable to make the energy flow. And we start to inhale from our nose and we exhale from our mouth. We inhale from our nose and we exhale from a good open mouth. And breath after breath, we feel the weight of our body, the air entering through our nose and exiting from our mouth. My voice, the radio's voice, and all that helps us to relax and go further inside of us. And close your eyes to bring your attention from the outside to the inside of you. We inhale from our nose and exhale from our mouth. And breath after breath, inside of us there is a point, a place, a little fire, which is our center. And breath after breath, we bring our attention to it to make it grow. So this little fire, this light inside of us, the more we give attention to its presence, is growing. It's lighting up all our inner. And we inhale from our nose. We exhale from our mouth, and all that is relaxing us. And all that brings us all our body inside of us, our vital aura, with our color, which is a brilliant, shiny color, a color we like. It's us. And breath after breath, right as the sun inside of us is starting to illuminate the whole room where we are. It's pleasurable. It comes very naturally. It's like the sun opening its rays around itself. And the more it's opening, the more oxygen come. A star which is born. And breath after breath, all the sideways, the pathways, the cities, the mountains, everything around us is colored by this light, this sun born inside of us, all around. And naturally, as we go on, the more we go on, it more gains energy, the more potential it has. And breath after breath, it's brightening up our whole existence, happy, light. And it goes beyond our planet with its oceans, with its mountainsides, with its skies, its deserts, eh, its extensions of ice. All of that is lit up by our light. And beyond that, and even beyond the moon, close by, companion of the night, also that one is brightened up by our light. And all the planets of the solar system, Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, Venus, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, Saturn, the- from the closest planets to the planets far away, they are all brightened up from our light, which is expanding bright in the universe, so that we touch even our sun, this brilliant light, and these lights are meeting, they touch each other, they mix and step breath after breath in this marvelous meeting of light. of warmth, of beauty, we find a point which is even more brighter and more marvelous. And there we put our attention to our presence. And breath after breath, we are in this bright point of the sun. And we feel perfectly well, bright, enlightened, charged with energy and potential. And breath after breath, a door opens and we enter in a place, non-place, in a place we might know, or maybe we have never seen before, but we feel this frequency of home. It has the frequency of a place which we know. It's familiar to us. It's different for every one of us, but for every one of us, it's a place which embraces us, which welcomes us where we are in the right place. And breath after breath, this place in the center, there is a seat, a throne, a sofa, a branch of a tree, something perfect for us where we can sit down. It's here in this place, marvelous, bright, serene. We know that it's the point of union of the our human and divine part. It's this place where all the questions find all the answers, and where all the answers find all the questions. This completeness of being and breath after breath, every one of us, this very moment, we are just one with your source. Why we're here. Why? Here, now, today, in this very moment, why we are in this marvelous point. Maybe to ask ourselves whether it's time to start with a new pathway. And breath after breath, we're here in this point where we know what's best for ourselves. We feel it, we perceive it. It's total inside of us. And breath after breath, with this awareness, knowledge, with this living essence, we know that this place, this meeting point, it's always there for us. It's always present in us and outside of us. It's sufficient to want being there. It's sufficient to follow the pathway till we find ourselves. And now, with a sense of gratitude, we greet and we thank this place and this moment, ourselves, our completeness. And breath after breath, we find ourselves in this bright point, marvelous place, charged from the middle of the sun and following one of its rays, bright, warm, powerful, who bring life. We ride on it and go through even faster than the speed of light. We go through all our solar system, the planets, the asteroids, the moons, the comets. We, with this awareness, with this sensation, with this being of life, we come back to our blue planet, full of forests, oceans, clear skies, mountains, deserts, valleys, coming back to our places where we recognize the area around where we live. They're now brightened up by us, by our frequency, by our light. And step by step, this light is re entering in the place where we are, and breath after breath, our body comes back as well. And it's overlaying on its physical body to then become a bright, shiny point in ourselves. And breath after breath, we feel our hands, we feel the air entering from our nose and exiting from our mouth. Now we do little movements with our feet, hands, and stretch and maintain this light in our eyes, in our smile. And when we feel ready, we open our eyes and come back to here and now. Welcome back. Present, ready. After we made a journey in our soul, which brought us to touch a certain part of ourselves, maybe a more hidden part, but more true, which doesn't have the need of anything else. Our physical body, our human nature needs food, water, sleep, somewhere to live, security. Our soul part, the only need it has, it's not even right to call it a need. It's this, you have to express, it's this complete sun of energy, of potential, of creation, which only wants to express itself. So when we start to understand that we can move our center from the human part, from the mortal part, to the spiritual part, the divine part, which is immortal, then Therefore, we don't need anything else, because then we have everything. So at this point, we have everything: knowledge, energy, power, whatever it is, everything. And when we're there, then we can generate the world which we desire, can create it. That's a fundamental point. The heart of alchemy is to bring back the center, the spiritual center, in its original seat. It was moved, it was confused, but today we have the possibility of coming back to our center. And from there, ha, we can create a new life, a new experience, which is unique. Good. So, coming a bit back to the concept of our pathway, this starting of the pathway, it starts from there. Us, our real spiritual pathway starts always from our center. We have to learn to recognize it, to speak to it, and especially, as we said, manifest this part. We are spiritual creatures and material creatures. So we are one of these little creatures in this world, which are called um, bridge figures, which are able to bring together the human and the divine part to really change your focus. These bridge forms, but we forget too often that we have this divine part. Luckily, on the alchemic pathway, we find again our senses, not only the material ones, but the ones of our soul, the sense of the divine, which is this one which is more on the surface, according to all the others, which is the easiest to contact. And it's the one which makes us perceive there is something more than our human nature. We felt it. We have the certainty. Maybe we don't even understand it, but we live it. We feel it inside. So this sense all humanity has, and thanks to this sense, spiritual pathways grew, religions were born, esoteric pathways to give voice and give expression to this feeling. And then, as everything, as the religions did it, they used it to their own goals, material goals, not the spirituals anymore. But now, what is important is to understand to do that, we have the need to learn techniques, simple but clear, which allow us to move, to go as they told us or taught us how to move with our feet. We have to learn the same thing for our spirit. It's our nature. It's not because it's exceptional. No, it's supernatural. So, but if no one ever tells you that, and no one does it, then we know how to walk because our parents taught us how to walk. So now for our the next kids, we have to teach them to fly with their spirit, with their imagination, with their feeling. But before, we have to learn that. Otherwise, we will not be able to transmit that to the new generations. And it's the task of people like us, for those who I see with uh, their cameras open. I see there you have more or less the same age as me. You're between the you were born in the old area, but living in the new one. For those who are born today, or 10, 20 years ago, already was born in the new era, but doesn't know yet how to live it. And if we continue to teach them how you lived in the old one, they, they will find themselves in problems because they will feel something differently, but they will use like old patterns. It's like going in a river using a car. That won't work. You need to have a boat in a river, all right? So we have to teach the new generations how to navigate not only in space, but also in the spirit and also in time. We're creatures so complex, so beautiful, so incredible. It's time to open these potentials. But to do so, we have to put the desire to start this pathway. And we always come back there. What will we do in these 2 weeks? We start a pathway to find out, to find ourselves again, to find to have the adequate energy to activate these inner senses of our soul, which allow us to manifest this world, these desires, and have the power of doing so. Because it's a question of expressing of your power. The sun has the power of illuminating, of brightening, because it's the energy, it's the light. And it's also us. But if our light is little, it will only light up a room. But if we make it grow, it will brighten up the whole world. So it depends only on us. Who, whom do we want to be? It's questions which today have the possibility of finding people, similar people to you, putting the same questions, together starting a pathway to opening up to new experiences, to new knowledge, and especially to learn to get to know this alchemical laboratory of our beings and to put it into order again because life is creating disorder. But we have to understand how is this done, what's inside, and especially to have the control of our energies, of our emotions, and be able to direct them, knowing how to do that. That's what you already learn what on the first step, which we it's a 2-day online course, which we call the starting of the pathway, and it's really made to do the first steps to understand whether alchemy is a pathway for every one of us, for you, or if it's not like that. The choice today is in your hands. There will be other possibilities, other moments. Who knows? Today it is there. Tomorrow From tomorrow, I don't have any certainty. So I invite you to think of what you would like to be. And I invite you to feel whether this frequency, what we touched a bit tonight, is something which can nourish your soul, or maybe not. For those who are interested, you will receive in these days after this webinar with all the information inside. It's a 2-day course. It's a whole day. It's a bit challenging, but it pays back a lot. And we want that you really live it with presence. In presence is meaning is like we do now, right? Like there will be interaction, exchange, because we have the need to get to know to you and go through the steps which we described before. Light the fire, refine, and create a new direction. And we can help you on that, but those who have to do it, it's you. Because alchemy, no one else will can or will do it for you. It's something everyone else, everyone does with its own will, with its own choice. And said all that, Cesaranio, I thank you very much that you have been with us. I would love to see you, and I hope to see you in these 2 weeks. And then, and I will like to give you my best wishes for your life so that you find the energy to choose what your life is and what you want to live. Thank you, everyone. I wish you a good day or a good evening wherever you are. And I wish to you that you live and realize the most marvelous dreams. Convoy from our side. Convoy, everyone. That's our greeting here.